Welcome back to the Devil May Cry playthrough with me, Super Cold Chaos. Now today's mission is rather interesting in the sense that there's actually a puzzle to it, and not just some mission where we have to find some key, we have to take the key to some place, we put the key in some kind of slot thingy, and then we open the door and that's the end of the mission. Or where we have to take the key to some place and it gives us another key to open the door somewhere else. But no, we actually have to do something here that requires some thinking, I guess? But I'll get to that in a minute, but first we have to take care of these marionettes because they can get in the way of that puzzle. And it's at this point in the game where I realize that the grenade launcher is ridiculously overpowered. I mean, it has unlimited shots for one, like every weapon in the game. It has an explosion that takes out multiple enemies, and it just does so much damage that you can take out these marionettes in just one hit. Kinda ridiculous, if you ask me. Oh, well, okay, one more marionette. And now with the marionettes out of the way, we can do this. Now, essentially, what this riddle is that it's saying that we have to follow that ball of light at the base of the gravestone. It'll fly towards enemies, which is why you want to take out as many enemies as you can, so that way the ball of light will pop out, and it will lead you to one of two areas in a split road. And it'll go to one of those exits, and you go through that exit. Now, it seems simple enough, but what happens when you're too focused on enemies to figure out exactly where it's going? Because it doesn't automatically float to every enemy. As you noticed, it was just passing through the marionette, that last marionette, before it went through the door. If you don't pay attention, it will just leave you and you won't know exactly which area to go to. And after that, it's pretty much just a guessing game. And I've also had moments where it's flying towards one exit. It floats off to the other split road, like across the gap, and it'll go through that, but I already went through the first exit, and so essentially if you get it wrong, you have to restart the whole area all over again, all the way back to the marionettes. I'm sure if you've noticed by now, there's essentially 3 levels with 3 different enemies varying in strength. You know, you had to deal with the marionettes first, then you had to deal with the sin sights, and now you have to deal with the lizard men. And once you deal with the lizard men, that's essentially the end of this puzzle. I mean, it's interesting that they did this. I mean, Devil May Cry does have a few good puzzles, which I will get to if I do playthroughs of the other games, but this one, it actually requires you to pay attention. It requires you to be astute, and not just kill every enemy until some door opens up, or finding a MacGuffin key, like I've mentioned before. And with that done, we haven't ended the mission quite yet. We still have to take care of a new type of enemy, kind of a recolor. I call this guy the Stone Spider, or the Stoned Phantom, make any pot jokes you want. But essentially this guy works the same way as Phantom, except instead of fireballs, he shoots boulders. And he doesn't have a health bar, so... Also, I don't think he has a glowing weak spot in his back like the actual Phantom did. And of course, this guy has to take forever to die. That's one thing I really hate about the Devil May Cry games, when some enemies take forever to die. Like, you've killed them, but they have to go through this whole death rattle before they actually die and give off their orbs. And with that done, we've ended the mission with an A rank. Pretty cool. You probably noticed that I've accumulated a good chunk of orbs, and I haven't really been using them much to pay for upgrades and whatnot. Why? Well, there is one upgrade you might want to pay attention to. It's called the Air Hike. It's a Alistair upgrade, and essentially it gives you a double jump. I know you can double jump off of walls and off of enemies, but just the Air Hike looks really cool, so why look a gift horse in the mouth? Anyways, with this new mission, we take care of a new type of enemy, the Berserk Scythe. Essentially, the scythe version of the Berserk scissors we saw in the sewers earlier. Although this guy is a bit more of a pain because he'll deflect any bullet attacks you have on. You try to fire at him, and he flies around so fast that you can't really hit him with the grenade launcher. So really, you're supposed to hit him more with your sword than you are supposed to hit him with your guns. Although this does get rather difficult because, well, he's flying all over the place. How exactly am I supposed to hit him with my fucking sword? But he does have more of a tendency to fly towards you and try to attack you physically than any other scythe monster would. Because scythe monsters tend to just throw their scythes at enemies. I know a few of the sin scythes fly around and try to slash at you. But if you're paying attention and you dodge and counterattack right, you should be able to take this guy out easily. Although this guy was an optional enemy, once you take care of him, he'll reveal that platform and you can use that to fly around. I think you can get a couple of rare orbs and I think a blue orb fragment, something like that. Anyways, you're supposed to go down this hole where you'll find quite a good sum of lizard men. Yeah, the lizard men also have this whole death prattle thing where they take forever to die before they actually give you the orbs. It varies from enemy to enemy. I mean, at least the marionettes, they just blow up and then they give you all your orbs. These guys, kind of a nuisance, and they'll become even more of a pain later on when we actually have to swim. But I'll get to that possibly next time. Also, for some odd reason, killing all these lizardmen gives you a blue orb fragment. There are a few blue orb fragments that really just kind of appear out of nowhere. I don't really know why. But up here, we find another key to solve another pseudo-puzzle. The Sign of Chastity, which looks like a brain for some odd reason. An alien brain. Actually, it kind of looks like the brains you get from Destroy All Humans. Oh well, but you don't have to kill all these enemies. It's once again for red orbs that we can pay for upgrades. And you probably also noticed the statue with the hourglass that you use to buy upgrades. If you didn't already know that was what that was for, that's what it is. It's you can hit the X button on that and you can pay for your upgrades. Anyways, up to this area, we can use our Sign of Chastity to solve our next pseudo puzzle like I already mentioned. And for some odd reason, this area has this whole long jump thing. Yeah, you need to jump off to the side. It's really stupid, but it gets even more stupid later on, trust me. So we use the Sign of Chastity here to get ourselves... I hate how Dante has to describe everything. Do I need to use this thing so I can get this item? Am I gonna say no? Anyways, you get the Holy Grail for the Antichrist. And it's... let's see... lightning is always never good. And hey, it's that mellow fellow Nello Angelo. Back for another ass whooping. Show of hands, how many, or actually place of bets, how many times do you think we're going to see this guy? 3 times? 4 times? Do I hear 4 times? Anyways, this fight is not really all that difficult. The only thing he might have actually added is some actual punches and kicks. But other than that, the fight is virtually the same from the first one. He's not that hard. He's not really that devastating. I mean, his attacks do a bit of damage, but I don't see you having to heal or anything like that. Just as long as you're paying attention to his movements. He moves slow enough and telegraphs his attacks enough to know exactly when he's going to attack. Although if you want to end this fight as quickly as possible, just go into Devil Trigger mode. You should be able to end the fight rather quickly. And if you're taking too much damage, Devil Trigger mode can heal you. And since you automatically recharge Devil Trigger gauge when you deal out damage, there's no reason why you shouldn't be using Devil Trigger unless you're trying one of those guys who puts on handicaps for no good reason. Since I'm playing on easy mode, you can already tell I'm not one of those people. In fact, I don't think I'm ever going to be good enough to do stuff like that. Oh well, but it's here where I realized that Air Raid and Lightning Raid and Vortex are really devastating attacks if you haven't been paying attention. That's the move where you leap into the air, you use the circle button, and you'll screw attacks and fly around your enemies. And you can, from there, you can use the square button to shoot out lightning at your enemies. And that's Nello Angelo. Not really that much of a boss, but what can you do? I'm still taking bets. 3 fights? Do I hear 3 fights? 4 fights? Possibly. Anyway, here we have to deal with the worst part of the controls in this game. The camera just doesn't help at all. I mean, obviously it shows that you have to go out to that area, that little alcove, and use the chalice there to open up the door to the next area, but the thing is, you can't go back the door you went in, so you can't just go open up the door from the upper area so that way you can leap over to that secondary area. You basically have to climb up through these platforms, walk over, and awkwardly climb up this thing whenever it feels like it. I know you're supposed to double jump, but okay, there we go. And I'm guessing we have to give this chalice to the Blue Falcon. It's been a while since I've seen him. I think the last time I saw him was in Dexter's laboratory, but And like every other puzzle in the game, it opens up a door to end the mission. I still have to deal with the freaking long jump. And once we do one more loop around... Okay, one more loop around, because apparently there's no compass in this game to tell you exactly, hey, you're going the wrong way, dipshit. And now with that done, we've ended the mission. Thank God. And I have enough to buy that air hike I was telling you about.